Hi everyone. Welcome back to my YouTube channel and for my podcast listeners, the Gyan Dive. Today we're gonna do a bit of a solo episode, so grab your favorite drink and snack and sit down with me as we delve through chapter 4 of the Gita. Now, this chapter is called the Gyan Karma Sannyasa Yoga, the Yoga of Knowledge and Renunciation. So, this chapter is one of the most profound in the Gita, where Lord Krishna not only explains the science of action and renunciation, but also reveals the timeless nature of divine intervention. So, today I'm going to discuss some of the most impactful verses that I have found through my own personal research. And I'll be talking about how that kind of applies to your life and like what I've learned from it personally. I'm really excited, and I hope that this episode helps spread the teaching of the Gita. So, um, from verses 4.1 to 4.3, it mainly talks about how this Krishna tells Arjun that this knowledge is not new, that he first spoke it to Vivasan, the sun god, who passed it to Manu and then to Ikshvaku, and then down the line of saintly kings. But over time, this wisdom was lost. And then Arjuna questions Krishna that, like, how could you have spoken to these people when they're so old, you know? So then Krishna says, both he and Arjun have had many births, but only Krishna remembers them all. Now, this one is like kind of, not that relevant. There's not too many teachings you can get from that, but that's kind of, I just want to like briefly go through it. Now from verses 4.7 to 4.8, Krishna declares, whenever righteousness declines and unrighteousness arises, I manifest myself on earth. Now, I think this is one of the most profound verses. Um, and this basically talks about avatars and how they work. So he says that when there's decline of dharma, so when society drifts away from justice and truth, and there's a rise of adharma, when corruption, violence, and tyranny dominate, at such times Krishna will appear in various avatars. So as you know that Vishnu has all these avatars, so Krishna's explaining when he manifests as each avatar. Um, so it seems like a universal principle that when life seems overwhelmed by darkness, divine light will emerge to restore balance. Um, yeah. And now for verse 4.9, Krishna says, those who truly understand my divine birth and deeds are never reborn. They attain my eternal realm. So this is all about liberation or moksha. So people wonder if there's so many like reincarnations in Hinduism, and like being human is suffering, as Professor Brian talked about last episode. How do we escape the cycle? Like how do we escape the cycle of constant rebirth and death and rebirth and death? Like how do we escape that? So here Krishna talks about um moksha. So when you understand Krishna's true divine nature, you break the endless cycle of birth, rebirth, and samsara. Like this world, this material plane we live in is called samsara. Um, then Krishna talks about purification through surrender. Now I think, okay, I have a tattoo, like a surrender tattoo that I recently got on my birthday this year. And it was only when I really read about what surrender truly means and how important it is, I decided to get this tattoo. So this verse kind of talks about purification through surrender. So Krishna points out that many before Arjuna achieved liberation by freeing themselves from attachment, fear, and anger, and fully immersing themselves in him. So, this verse teaches us that surrender is not weakness, it's the highest strength. When we let go of everything, like our ego, driven desires, our actions become purified, and our love for the divine naturally blossoms. So, I think this is so important. I think this is perhaps the hardest to actually implement because, like, it's so hard to like actually let go of everything and just like surrender, just trust. I think this um has been like a very important kind of lesson for me in my life where I have learned to surrender to God. There have been many situations in my life, like I'm in one right now. I'm in a phase where I'm not following the conventional path. I don't have, a normal big girl job. I'm kind of doing my podcast and just hoping for the best. But I think that this verse teaches me that at this point in time, if I surrender to God and I just like give my all, and I also use what I learned from the last chapter, which is to not focus too much or not be too attached to the outcome and keep doing my dharma, everything will work out. And um, I think surrendering to God is the highest strength that you can have. Now, verse 4.11. Krishna responds to devotion. So he says, I respond to people in the same way they surrender to me. Everyone follows my path, O Arjuna. So this talks about like different things. So some people approach God for material success, others for emotional comfort, and some for pure spiritual growth. Beginners may seek worldly gains, advanced seekers long only for union with God. So I think we've all experienced this where like some of us just like pray when there's like an exam or like we really want something. We're like, oh my God, please, I'm gonna pray. And like, I hope this happens. Or like, oh, like you want a lot of money or like you want success. And that's when you pray to God. Or like, let's say, um, a family member is on their deathbed. That's when you pray to God. Like you want something, right? But they say Krishna is saying that beginners, um, kind of do that. But while advanced seekers mostly just want union with God, they don't want anything else. So, this verse is talking about inclusivity, like all paths ultimately lead to the divine. So every soul is moving towards Krishna. We're all in like different phases of that. Some people are advanced, some people are beginners like us. But yeah, we're getting there. We're trying our best and yeah. Now he talks about the signs of action too. So this is from verses 4.14 to 4.23. So here Krishna reveals profound truths about karma and inaction. So 4.14 talks about actions don't bind him. He is beyond outcomes. Similarly, those who understand this remain free from karmic bondage. So this one is pretty like self-explanatory, so I'm gonna move on to the next one real quick. 4.17, we must learn the difference between right action, wrong action, and inaction, a truth subtle and hard to grasp. This one is interesting. So I think they categorize actions into three categories and kind of talk about that. Well, from verses 4.20 to 4.22, the wise renounce action, attachment to outcomes. They remain content in whatever comes, steady in success or failure, and unattached even while performing their duties. Now, this verse was really profound for me personally because this basically says, and I'm a part of this organization called Swadhyay. So the founder of it, Pujniya Dadaji, talks about this a lot of times that you need to accept whatever God gives you as prasad. Like you need to, whether it's whether it's success, whether it's failure, whether it's happiness, whether it's sadness, you have to accept everything in the same manner. Now, this is so hard to do, right? It's called equanimity, and I think this is also one of the core teachings of the Gita. I think this is so hard. Like equanimity, how do you do that? Like it's saying don't get too excited when you get success, don't get too sad when you get failure. You need to accept everything the same way, and this is the hardest thing to master. So Krishna here is saying that the wise renounce attachment to outcomes and they remain satisfied with whatever comes, steady in success or failure, and unattached. So I think this is a very important verse. I'm getting there. Like it's hard, like we're human beings at the end of the day. And like when we're given, you know, a rough patch, it's natural to be sad. Or like when we're successful, it's natural to be like super happy about it. But I think this verse really teaches us to like keep our feet on the ground and kind of take life as it is and not get too excited or too disheartened. Now, verse 4.23 was pretty interesting too. It says, when all actions are performed as a sacrifice to God, one is freed from karmic reactions. This transforms ordinary work into worship. So I think this talks about karma yoga kind of. So anything you do can be worship for God, like as Professor Bryant talked about last episode, that God can be found in almost everything. And you do your if you perform actions as a sacrifice to God, or even if you think of God in everything you do, I think you can be freed from karmic reactions and you can do what you're doing and that be considered worship, you know? Um, and this section is truly the heart of the Gita from verses 4.14 to 4.23. It talks about work without attachment, dedicate all actions to divine, and live free. Now, the path of sacrifice, which is verse 4.25, Krishna talks about a variety of sacrifices. Some yogis make material offerings to celestial gods. Others offer their very selves into the fire of absolute truth. This highlights the two levels of worship. So there's outer sacrifice, which is like physical rituals and offerings, and then there's inner sacrifice, which is complete dedication of the self, surrender of the ego, and aligning with divine truth. Both are pretty good, but inner sacrifice is deeper, transforming one's whole life into a sacred offering. Like, I think Dadaji also talks about this a lot of times that we should make our life like a bush or like a flower that we can offer to God. So our whole life can be a sacrifice. But I do think that rituals and offerings are pretty simple to do, but like the inner sacrifice, which is like surrendering your ego and dedicating yourself to God completely, I think that is the hardest part. So I think if you're able to do that, that is like crazy. Now, there's also a section about knowledge and renunciation. And like overall, I think this chapter emphasizes that true renunciation is not abandoning action, but acting with knowledge. So Krishna bridges karma, action, and jnana, knowledge, showing that when actions are guided by wisdom and offered to God, they lead not to bondage, but to liberation. So I think this is very beautiful. And then I'm going to close out this chapter to summarize. Krishna is the eternal guide manifesting wherever dharma declines. I think this verse a lot of people know. Um, Understanding his divine nature frees us from rebirth. Surrender, devotion, and selfless action purify us. And ultimately, by transforming all of our work into sacrifice, we rise above karma and move towards liberation. Great. Because like I feel like a lot of us know about karma and like how it works. And you know that we're living our lives right now, like however we're living it is because of our past karma. So like let's say we did something bad in our past lives, like how do we break free of it? So I think this kind of answers that. Um, Chapter 4 is not just a philosophy, it's a practical manual for life. In every era, in every situation, its teachings remain timeless. Um, if you found these insights meaningful, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the Gyan Dive, and share your reflections in the comment section. Like, do tell me what you liked about this episode, what you didn't like, your own insights if you've read the Gita. And please let me know who to call on the next episode of the podcast, because our next episode is going to be a deep dive into something. So please do let me know. And thank you for joining me on this journey into the wisdom of the Gita. Om Namah Shivaya. And I'm so grateful for all of you. My goal, I think Professor Bryant asked me this last podcast. Um, what is your goal with this podcast? And I think for me, it's just, I think I'm a vessel for spreading knowledge. I think I'm just here to be a medium so that this knowledge can reach everyone. Because I think a lot of young people want to know about our culture, want to know about our religion, but they don't have the right resources or they don't know where to look. So I just hope that this podcast serves as a platform for everyone to get the knowledge that their heart, their soul craves so much, and that I can also get all this knowledge through this. And I love doing this, like I love talking and I love knowledge. Like I love diving into knowledge. And before this, I would be listening to podcasts nonstop. Like I'd be listening to podcasts all day long. So I'm so grateful to be able to create this and I'm grateful for you guys. So stay tuned, y'all. Lots of love and stay happy.